this is a little bit different for the Batley Poets. We've not done a virtual poetry session before. We have been doing Share a Poem Sunday on Twitter, which has been going on for a few weeks now. So ever since the lockdown, the quarantine started in whatever form it started off is, in the soft lockdown that we had first. So we have been doing Share a Poem Sunday to keep us going week by week. And this week we thought we'll give you a live session of it. So we have quite a few poets joining us. A lot of them are, as our name goes, Batley based. However, we do have some from further afield as well. And we will introduce you to all of them soon. I'll give a few minutes for everyone to join us in case there are any laters or anybody wants to grab a cup of tea or a glass of water or something. And then we'll sort of go through the format of the afternoon and the session and what you can expect from us. So it is virtually poetry from the Batley Poets. We're all kind of in our own homes, connecting virtually in these times, giving sort of a sense of our Batley community, spreading it through Batley and far as well. For those of us that are joining us on our YouTube stream. So we'll give it a couple of minutes for any, anybody else that's joining us and coming with us, and then we'll start with the poetry shortly. So it's virtually poetry with Batley Poets. You can find us on Twitter at Batley Poets. You can find us on Instagram as well, Batley Poets. Do tag us, do share your poems with us. Give us your feedback, give us your, give us your comments, your opinions, and do share your poetry with us as well, and do tag us in your poems. Also, we do have a chat option as well on the YouTube feed. So any comments, anything that you've got, do sort of join us. Do let us know what you like. Do let us know how you're getting on, how we're getting on. Any sort of technical difficulties that we run into, let us know about those as well. I'm not the most technical person of our group, therefore I'm not in charge of it, thankfully. I'm very old-fashioned. I do pen and paper rather than anything technical like that. However, we're living in a time where we've realized the importance of technology and B, the usefulness of it as well. And it's amazing. It's amazing that even in these sort of uncertain times, how technology has kept us connected with our friends, with our families, with our neighbors, with our doctors, and virtual surgeries are happening, school virtual education is happening. So technology definitely is rocking at the moment, and Netflix as well. I mean, how many of us have binge watched whatever? It's that time where we can get to binge watch without sort of guilt-free binge watch as well. We don't have to even feel guilty about it, and you can stay in your pajamas all day as well. So that's the time. Obviously, we are, we do want to start with giving a big thank you to all our care workers, all our key workers, our hospital staff, the NHS, our frontline workers, our bin men who are collecting, our postmen, our grocery workers, everyone. If you are sharing in the clap on a Thursday, they all deserve a massive round of applause for what they're doing, helping us get through, keeping the country running, ticking by, and being there on the front line for all of us. So a massive thank you from the Batley Poets to all our care workers, all our frontline workers, all our key workers, all our essential workers. So we will just give one more minute for any sort of late arrivals. We do tend to normally have a few late arrivals when we do it in our normal format, which is at the Batley Library. That's where you can normally find us. That's where we tend to host our sessions, unless we're sort of doing an outside session. But unfortunately, the library is closed at the moment, like they are up and down the country. That's quite sad. I do actually the library, but obviously we all understand why that is at the moment. For those of us that don't know me, my name's Mohammed Variava, and I'll be hosting this session of Virtually Poetry brought to you by the Batley Poets from the comfort of their own homes to your homes directly. So it's a new thing that we're doing. This is something that we've not done before. However, we thought, it's a Sunday afternoon. We normally have our poetry sessions on an afternoon. So why don't we bring our poetry from the comfort of our own homes into yours, so you can see us directly in the comfort of your own homes. If you want to grab yourself a cup of tea, glass of water or anything, some of you may be fasting, some of you aren't. For those of you that aren't and want to grab a cup of tea, you've got a minute or so to do so, and then we shall begin today's session. So everybody that's joining us, thank you so much for joining us from wherever you are. Do leave us a comment from where you're joining us, whether you're in Batley, whether you're from further afield, or whether you're from next up in Dewsbury as well. Where everyone's welcome. Our motto is everyone's a Batley poet. Whether that's you writing poetry, whether that's you reading poetry, whether you like poetry written by somebody else, everyone's welcome in our sessions, and everyone's the Batley poet. Do check our website as well. That's batleypoets.co.uk, where you can see the works of some of the artists that will be featured today, and also works from other poets that have sent in their poetry as well. Do follow us on Instagram. Do follow us on Twitter as well. It's Batley Poets, and share your poetry with us. Share your comments with us. Share your thoughts with us. So for those of us joining us, my name is Mohammed Variava, and I'll be hosting Virtually Poetry for you today. So we do have a running order where you'll get to see and hear from the poets. But before that, just some of the house rules as well. So we're not expecting a fire alarm. However, if it does go off, it's probably in your own home. So evacuate, but nobody else. Evacuate. Also, the toilets, you should know where the toilets are, because you should be in your own homes. You shouldn't be anywhere else, so you should know where the toilets are as well. Normally, we do have cake as well in these sessions, but unfortunately today, our baker didn't turn up. I'm not sure why, but we did order some cake. Well, I did for myself, but my baker's not turned up yet. So whenever she does, I'll get some cake and you can just enjoy it. Well, I can enjoy it, but you can't. Anyways, we do hope to sort of have a live in-person, face-to-face session as soon as we can, as soon as it's safe to do so, where we can share poetry, where we can share a cuppa, and we can share some cake as well, because there's always cake with the Batley Poets. So if you are joining us on our YouTube stream, do leave us a comment, do leave us your thoughts, do share with us what you are thinking. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first poet. Our first poet is Mohammed Salou from Batley, and I'm going to hand it over to him so he can share a lovely poem by him. Over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you, Mohammed. Right, okay, well, great to be here, as always. I'm going to start off today with one I've read a few times before. Excuse me. I've read a few times before. It's called Escape. Hope you enjoy it. Vimto waterfalls free-falling to the sea, pink and white marshmallows perched upon a tree, lime green laces from meadows on a hill, flying on a unicorn is really such a thrill. Sugar-coated candy floss floating in the sky, licorice-flavored lampposts standing way up high, powder violet tablet resonating purple thoughts, strawberry-flavored lollipops like tulips on a court. Fizzy orange soda flowing like a stream, chocolate-covered boulders piled up in a dream, colored sugar dusting a rainbow in the sky, ripe and juicy pear drops on branches perched up high. Darkened walls so dusty, heavy window drapes, reality graves the hurtful, which is why I choose to escape. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed, for that. Delicious poem. I mean, I heard a lot of references to sweets and colors and fantasy. So a very delicious poem, I would say. Thank you for that, Mohammed. Next up, we've got, you might, if you're on Twitter, you would have seen a lot of tweets from this kid. He goes by the name of Batley Man, but we all know him as Bilal Meyer. Over to you, Bilal.
Thank you, Mohammed. Is it working? Right. This poem is called We. As I watch the daily briefing, as I sit there and I ponder, as I carefully plan my shopping to minimize contact, much easier when fasting. I need to understand it is something that is affecting us all. This is real life, not of many movies. We need to be understanding. We will get through this. We'll see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Bilal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to go over that once again, just in case there was any connectivity issues. So just once again, Bilal, over to you again for an encore.
Right, I'll slow down for this one. Right, the poem is called We. As I watch the daily briefing, as I sit there, as I ponder, as I carefully plan my shopping to minimize contact, much easier when fasting. I need to understand it is something that is affecting us all. This is real life, not of many movies. We need to be understanding. We will get through this. We will see you there. Was that better?
Thank you, Bilal, for that. For the wonderful thoughts of the current time that we're in. Thank you, Bilal. Next, we've got Jem. Over to you, Jem.
How's that? Hear me okay? Yep, great. Okay. This one is called Ode to a Virus, which might ring a few bells. Corona doesn't care if you're atheist or Anglican, whether you're a Buddhist or have visited the Vatican. This pathogen's not fussy. There's no discernment in a virus. Not bothered who you vote for or that you don't like Miley Cyrus. It's just the latest in a series of respiratory disorders, one that doesn't have to wave a blue passport at our borders. Germs don't require visas, they're totally free to roam, while the fear of influenza keeps us all cooped up at home. We prepare for the apocalypse and not just self-isolation, buying enough Andrex to last till Prince Andrew's coronation. The only thing I truly fear if I'm stuck in quarantine is running low on Java. I'm a grouch without caffeine. I've stopped watching news at 10, hearing Boris invoke the Blitz. His pound shop Churchill tribute act gets on my thruppenny bits. I'm sick of all the Facebook experts and their theories on causation. Just paint a red cross on my door. I'm out of circulation. Thank you.
Wonderful, Jem, wonderful. Some very poignant references in there. I feel like I want an encore of that just because it was so good. Jem, I'm going to hand it over to you again to do an encore of an Ode to a Virus.
I'm sorry if I look a bit shifty. My screen that I'm reading off to just to the side of me. So, I need an auto cue. That's what I really need. Ode to a Virus. Corona doesn't care if you're atheist or Anglican, whether you're a Buddhist or have visited the Vatican. This pathogen's not fussy. There's no discernment in a virus. Not bothered who you vote for or that you don't like Miley Cyrus. It's just the latest in a series of respiratory disorders, one that doesn't have to wave a blue passport at our borders. Germs don't require visas. They're totally free to roam, while the fear of influenza keeps us all cooped up at home. We'd prepare for the apocalypse and not just self-isolation, buying enough Andrex to last till Prince Andrew's coronation. The only thing I really fear if I'm stuck in quarantine is running low on Java. I'm a grouch without caffeine. I've stopped watching news at 10, hearing Boris invoke the Blitz. His pound shop Churchill tribute act gets on my thruppenny bits. I'm sick of all the Facebook experts and their theories on causation. Just paint a red cross on my door. I'm out of circulation.
Thank you once again, Jen. That was absolutely brilliant. We love that. We love Jem and his work. It's funny, it's real, it's sometimes it's quite raw as well. And Jem did start a debate a few weeks amongst us about coffee and whether decaf was as good or not. So, you know, are you a tea drinker? Are you a coffee drinker? What's getting you through this quarantine? What's getting you through this lockdown? Is it cups of tea? I know mine have piled up. I've got actually a poem written. Well, not written. It's formed in my head, but not down on paper yet. So it is there about tea and the amount of the number of cups of tea I've consumed and how the mugs just keep piling up on my bedside. So yes, I'm a tea drinker. I've realized I drink more tea in lockdown as well, which is weird because normally it was just 1 or 2 cups, but now I'm having one every couple of hours, every 3-4 hours. I'm having a cup of tea. I think it's just the comfort of holding a cup that's what I'm liking more than anything else. So yes, tea, coffee, water, juice. What's getting? Did you like? Were you like my dad and finished all our quarantine snacks in the first week? You know, trying to keep him away from eating everything was a bit of a mission for us. So yeah, whatever's getting you through, do let us know. Right, next I'm gonna hand it over to Tahira. So take it away, Tahira.
I've got another lockdown poem as well, I'm afraid. So this one's called Walking, P versus during lockdown. Walking home after a long day, sound of traffic jars my nerves. I'm an introvert, had a stimulation. Sound of birds is much needed respite, but it never seems to last. Less than a minute later, the sound of traffic dominates the streets again. Engines don't purr when you're a pedestrian. Heading home after my daily exercise, loving the constant chirping of birds. Broken for less than a minute by a solitary car or two. People cycle, can hear myself think. But pavement parking and narrow pavements take from the people first nature streets, off into the road I go.
Thank you, Tahira, for that lockdown poem. There was a bit of a technical glitch, and do bear with us. Obviously, this is the first time we're doing something like this. We're all amateur camera people. See that? I don't even know the word cameramen, camera people. Got men and women, so we're all amateur camera people. Obviously, our poems are not amateur because there are some very good poets amongst us, some that you've heard and more that you're going to hear as well. So if there are any technical glitches, do bear with us. It's the cost of going live, isn't it? That sometimes, you know, there are a few technical glitches. I'm going to just give it back to Tahira to repeat that one as well. So Tahira, if you're still with us, can we just have an encore of that, please? I think Tahira has cut out. No, she's there. So Tahira, can we just have an encore of your lockdown poem for please? Right. Okay. I think. Okay. We'll have to wait till we kind of come back to Tahira. Next. Oh no, she's there.
Hi.
Right, Tahira, can we just have an encore of your lockdown poem, please?
Yeah, sure. So it's called Walking, P versus during lockdown. Walking home after a long day, sound of traffic jars my nerves. I'm an introvert, had a stimulation. Sound of birds is much needed respite, but it never seems to last. Less than a minute later, the sound of traffic dominates the streets again. Engines don't purr when you're a pedestrian. Heading home after my daily exercise, loving the constant chirping of birds. Broken for less than a minute by a solitary car or two. People cycle, can hear myself think, but pavement parking, people first nature streets, off into the road I go.
Thank you for that again. Right, so next after Tahira, it's gonna be myself. So I'm gonna start off with one that came to me not so long ago. This one's called Daisy Chains. So one by one, I went around, picked each one from the ground. Daisies weren't to be found, but dandelions were abound. Intermingled, a chain to be made, a trick of every child's trade. Some memories fade, even though it's been a few decades. Reminiscent of old summer days, school playgrounds and simpler ways. However simple, it does not fail to amaze to a child's wondrous gaze. Held together ever so finely, only to be handled delicately. A chain it may so be, but with limited stability. Passed over now to a little girl, to wear like a set of pearls. She puts it on and gives it a twirl, and down they come in a swirl. An attempt that seemed futile, for a joy that lasted only a while. Now it lays broken in a pile. Such is life fragile. Thank you, thank you. I'm gonna clap myself just to keep it, just so that it fits in my head and the format keeps running. So that was from myself. Next up, we've got somebody joining us all the way from Shropshire, so it's a little bit far out from Batley. However, I had been told he was a Batley lad, late or raised around Yorkshire, if I'm correct. So now I'm going to hand it over to Steve. Over to you, Steve. Sorry, Steve. I think you're just muted. So if you unmute yourself, we'll all be able to hear you.
Is that better? Is that fine? Good,
Yep,
thank you.
It,
yeah, yeah, not quite a Batley lad. I was brought up around Featherstone, South Yorkshire, and this is where the first poem is set. Featherstone, there, when I was growing up, there was a mining village. Obviously, all that's changed. So it's about neighbours, and it's set in the backyard in Featherstone. It's called White Flag. Between us, an armada of sails, white flags pegged to the washing line that lassoes the hook, hammered into the mortar, splitting our terraced houses. The gossip high walls are freshly pointed on our side alone. We didn't speak much or see each other in the miners' welfare library, and the corporation whitewash of our Methodist chapel clashed with your Sunday Mecca bingo bus trips. Your gate stuck and snicked too loud. You sometimes sneak through hours to gather arms of left out washing when the rain begin to spit, to leave it in the wash house with a wooden army of my toy soldier pegs. But Mum said she never puts the pegs in the bag, and she always leaves the bloody line out. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for that wonderful rendition of South Yorkshire.
I hope you appreciate. I've tried to replicate Batley Variety Club.
See, that was before my time.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, you all look so young.
Don't apologise at all. Don't apologise at all. So those of you that do remember Batley Variety Club, I'm sure they would have understood the reference of the red curtains behind you. So during my time it was Frontier, and now it's JD Gyms. I don't really know why they needed gym over entertainment, but you know what, that's what it is. So those of you that are joining us on YouTube, if you're a little bit late to the party, welcome. Thank you for joining us. It's Virtual Poetry with Batley Poets. If you've tuned into the Joe Wicks workout, that's not this channel. That's somewhere else. That's not here. So you're on the wrong channel. If you're here for a sort of a live workout session, that is not us. We don't do HIIT here. We do poetry and cake. So now we're going to hand it over to Mohammed Barber. So over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I am the third Mohammed in this trio of Mohammeds from the Batley Poets, and I've got a slightly sadder one today. So I was doing some work, and I was talking to a kid at school, and he was getting bullied, the poor thing, and he was kind of quite sad about that. So this is inspired by that. Flicked to the ground, he's on the floor, stepped on to douse the flame, expecting to kill the innocent light. His tears clean the bathroom floor. Thick drops of pain, smoke rises into nothingness, because he's nothing. Good enough only to be passed around from one friend to another, each taking their drag, each spitting their taunt, the butt of every joke. And they've had their fill, addicted to the chase. Until next time, the days renew, the bell rings, it's time again. They wait, he expects, they are addicted, he is resigned. They need his existence to validate their own identity, built on foundations of butter, made to feel stronger. I am superior by attacking another. This is school, and the kids are cruel. These wounds will heal, skin grows back and scabs fall off. The scars remain, upon the body they fade, but on the mind they remain. Fight through the pain, accept the trauma, move past the memories, face forward. Force oneself forward, look ahead with hope, or accept the abyss. This is the choice to make, because this is life now, because the kids are cruel. Thank you very much. Bit depressing, that one, but...
Thank you, Mohammed Barber, for that very thoughtful poem. And I guess that's the nature of poetry, writing your emotions, writing what you see, what you feel, what you hear, what's around you, what's inside you. So yeah, sometimes poetry can be quite dark, but then that's the poet letting us into their thoughts, their inner world. A lot of people I know personally as well, a lot of people find writing poetry as a method of escape, as a method of escape, as something to help them get through dark days, help them get through tough times. Writing down their emotions, it's a form of catharsis where you kind of, what's inside you is out on paper, a form of processing it as well. And we get a variety in all our sessions. We get a variety of happy poems, poems about food, poems about cake, poems about the weather, poems about the earth. So we get a variety, and that's the beauty of poetry in terms of we get to see an insight to the poet as well. So however dark it is, there's always a safe space for anyone amongst the Batley Poets, and there's always an outlet for you or for anyone that wants to join us, whether that's online or whether as soon as this lockdown is over, as soon as it's safe to do so, for us to be back together, hopefully at the library or any other venue. So, you're always welcome to share whatever it is that you want to share and whatever it is that you want to write. So thank you for that, Mohammed. Next, we're going to hand it over to Bilal Salu. Bilal is our technical guy, is our tech guy, and a massive thank you to Bilal for helping sort of whatever you're seeing in front of your screens today, helping us set up on the technical side of things. Over to you.
Hi, hello. It's not a massive amount of technical know-how to do this, but it does take a little while. So the poem I have is something I read out at the Big Batley Iftar, not last year, but the year before that. And I don't think anyone actually heard it, because I'm pretty sure the sound man came over to adjust the mic as I finished. So this will probably be the first time anyone's heard it properly. And it's called Sonnet Number 2 to the Helpers, just purely because it was the second sonnet I ever had to title, because I hate titling things. It's really, really, really difficult. And so I just titled it Sonnet Number 2. Your name will not be etched in history, nor your life written for all to debate. In time you will be left in memory, but your actions will outlive any fate. You are the flicker of the small flame, beacons of hope come together as one. You think not of praise or eternal fame, taken over after the setting sun. You give and give until there is no more, and yet you give and give once more again. A penchant for caring runs through your core. Your example will live without an end. So powerful a candle that you light, all gone are the horrors that fill the night. Thank you.
Thank you, Bilal, for that wonderful poem. I remember seeing this one. I remember seeing it when you've posted it on Twitter, and it's so relevant. Again, it's always, and I think that's the beauty of poetry, is that it'll always be relevant to someone somewhere. It might be a thought that you had, or it might be an emotion that you have at that moment of time. But when somebody else is reading it, it might sort of resonate with something that they're doing, or that emotion that they're feeling at that time. So that's the beauty of poetry, is that some poetry, they are timeless. So what Bilal just read right now, and he doesn't do titles very often, but that's so relevant in these times of having to redefine the word hero, sacrifices, the way people are putting themselves out there, the way people are coming together, community kindness. We've seen COVID kindness as well. So the way communities are coming together, I know especially within my own community, within Batley, my hometown, and further afield from what I've seen on social media, a lot of communities are getting together, helping the vulnerable, shopping for each other, looking out for each other. And that's what heroes are. Not, and as cliche as it sounds, not all heroes wear capes, and that is so true, and that is what we're seeing. That, you know, helping somebody, smiling at somebody, helping somebody. I've seen or I've heard of that people going past or going on their daily walks, just nodding to somebody as if we're all in this together. There's a sense of solidarity amongst us, that you understand what somebody else is feeling without having to speak to them, and I think that itself speaks volumes. That we just that gentle nod that we're giving each other when we're shopping at the queues, between us and the cashier, we're limiting our time that we would talk to cashiers, but just that gentle nod is just, you know, we're in this together, we'll get through this, and we're all the same, and we're all feeling the same things, we're all kind of got the same emotions, we've got the same fears, same hopes. So that the sense of hero, the word hero redefined, and rightly so as well, I would say. Anyways, next we're going to hand it over to the lovely Lindsay, who's joining us for the first time with the Batley Poets. So she's a debutante, for her debut with the Batley Poets, and we're absolutely grateful that we can reach new poets, new audiences, and new members. So over to you, Lindsay. Thank you.
Thanks, Mohammed, and I look forward to coming down to Batley Library and seeing you guys in person when we're all allowed. I write on and off, and this is a poem, it's a free poem that I wrote this year called Approximating. Do you know, I'm not like you, or you, or you, or you with the plum lipstick. We're not all the same, of course, but it's more than that. I've done a good job, I think, picking up nuances. I wear them like an invisible suit of armour, try to select each one for the right situation. It's not copying. It has a strange context. And it's more than just that. So you could say that they're tools or resources to help me blend in. Life seems so easy for you, and you, and you, and you with the plum lipstick. Because we're not all the same. And if you could see me suited up, I'd be on my knees with all this stuff. My lancers, swords and shields. All these things are, what do I say here? What did they mean? What do I do? I don't know that any of these thoughts or reactions are my own, but I've done a good job of approximating you, and you, and you, and you with the plum lipstick. Do you know? Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. That was beautiful. I really like the reference to the plum lipstick. Every time you read it, it made me smile. So thank you for that. And it was lovely hearing you for the first time, and hopefully and definitely not your last time. So yeah, so we do like I said earlier on, but for those of you that may have missed it, you can find us on Twitter at Batley Poets. You can find us on Instagram at Batley Poets, and obviously we've got the Batley Poets website as well. So you can share a poem with us, and you can keep up to date with what we're doing. We normally do a share a poem on a Sunday, share a poem Sunday every week. We've been doing it for 8 or 9 weeks now, ever since the lockdown started. It was slightly before the lockdown that we've been doing the share a poem Sunday. You know, so you can just share a poem, hashtag share a poem Sunday, hashtag Batley Poets, tag us into it, and keep up to date with our events, whatever we're doing virtually or non-virtually as well. So that's, you know, that's how you can find us, and that's how we can discover you, and we can come across you, and you can join in with us as well. So not too bad. We've actually successfully done a first round of everyone. So a huge round of applause for everyone for getting through that. Amazing. So now what we normally do, we do a second round. So we do. So we're just. So we're going to hand it back over to Mohammed Salou. Over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you. Right. Which one? I think it's this one. I've got to be honest with you. I actually woke up this morning and I've been wrestling whether to read this or not, because it's quite a personal one. But it's one that was written towards the end of January or very, very early February, if I remember rightly. It's called It Doesn't Feel Right. There's a work thing I need to go to. The expectation is to dress up. I suppose I'll have to, though it doesn't feel right. I got a message from the opticians today. They said my glasses are ready, but I won't wear them yet. It doesn't feel right. The wedding I told you about is this week. People keep telling me to go. I'm not really sure I want to. It doesn't feel right. I decided I'd go back to work today. They were all very kind to me. Tried to focus on work, but it doesn't feel right. Made your favorite for dinner last night. Kept thinking how you enjoyed it. It tastes different now, somehow. It doesn't feel right. Stopped at a red light on my way home. Saw an old man crossing the road. My mind thought it was you. It doesn't feel right. Standing here with this umbrella, in this open field as rain falls, talking as I do to you, is all that feels right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed, for that wonderful poem you shared with us. Next up, we're going to hand it back to Bilal Meyer, aka also known as Batley Man. So over to you, Bilal.
Right, thank you. I think. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Right. Okay. All three of my poems I've done today is all to do with Corona and the lockdown. So forgive me for that. But let's see how we go. Right. So this poem is called Scream. As much as I want to, I won't scream. Not now. Hold my tongue as we wait longer to go into lockdown. Watch the peak go up. This is not political. This is real life. This is our livelihood. Money isn't important. Much more important is life. We can take one back, but not the other. Lack of PPE and distribution is shocking. It's imperative to safely work. They are there, blood, sweat, and tears. I still won't scream. Now is not the time. Or is it? Thank you.
Thank you, Bilal, for that. That was wonderful. Thank you. So, as Bilal mentioned, his poems are about Corona, because obviously that's what we're living through right now. That's what we're going through right now. I'm not surprised. As poets, as I've seen on social media, a lot of artists are taking inspiration from the current situation. It is, and as much as I hate to use this word, unprecedented. Obviously, none of us have lived through anything like this before. None of us have experienced experienced anything like this before. So there's a whole range of emotions, there's a whole range of thoughts, there's a whole range of ideas that are coming to us. And we are all trying to just navigate through these times as best as we can. You know, we've all got our fears, we've all got our anxieties, we've all got our worries about what's going to happen, about income, about livelihood, about safety of our loved ones, you know, the ones that we've not seen for a while. So it is, and as people who do art or create or write poetry, it is going to be a time that they are going to find inspiration or help them to get through this time. And I do want to say a sort of a massive thank you to all the artists that are out there. And like myself, I'm sure many of you have come across tweets or posts from people that imagine a world without artists. How hard would this lockdown be if we didn't have movies, if we didn't have books, if we didn't have music, if we didn't have art, if we didn't have anything to read, anything to do, you know, cooks, you know, chefs that are putting out their recipes there, even your personal trainers that are doing your live workouts. I mean, how hard would it be if we didn't have all these forms of connectivity, all these creators creating things, all this content that is being put out there, and all the content that has already been on, you know, online available to us pre the lockdown, before the pandemic. So movies, and it's, you know, it's appreciating art, and how art always helps us get through tough times. And therefore, I'm not surprised that a lot of poems are inspired by Corona, or by the lockdown, or by the current situation, because that is what we're living through. So I'm not surprised at all with that. So thank you for that, Bilal. I'm going to hand it over to Jem. Over to you, Jem.
Thank you. You hear me okay? Yep, okay. Mindful of all that Mohammed's just said about community, I'm just going to do one that I've written that's all about me. So there you go. This one's called Metaphor. I'm a rolling stone, resolutely gathering moss. I'm a lazy mum on pancake day, I just couldn't give a toss. I'm a leopard changing spots and a kettle dish in pots. I really know my onions, I'm just not sure about shallots. I'm the hardest crossword puzzle, I just haven't got a clue. I'm a wine connoisseur, only lacking a corkscrew. I'm an addict, a consumer, some would say a hungry ghost. I'm the last man standing when everyone else is toast. I'm a lone wolf, a shrinking violet, seeking birds of a feather. I'm a man for all seasons who avoids inclement weather. I'm a canary in a coal mine, the harbinger of doom. I'm a candle in the wind that just can't dispel the gloom. I'm an analog watch in a digital time zone. I'm the total party animal who just needs some time alone. I'm the sinner at the pearly gates who fails to plead his case. I'm the thoroughbred stallion who never wins a race. I'm a safety deposit box to which no one holds the key. The first syllable of metaphor will always be me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jem, for that wonderful wonderful rendition of yourself. I guess it's a fine balance between me and the community, and this time that we've had, this time on our own, that we've had, that we're just spending that time with ourselves or with our families, it's a time to discover yourself as well. I found that as well, that it's, as much as it is about seeing the world around you and appreciating what you have, it's also understanding yourself, reflecting on yourself. And for a lot of people, that, you know, finding what ticks, you know, what makes you tick, what is it that you want to do, what is it that's getting you through the day, and having that me time and finding yourself. It is a time of self-discovery as well. Things that you thought you could live without, but you're actually managing to live without. Things that you thought you could, you know, things that you thought you absolutely need, but now you kind of realize, well, no, that wasn't that important in my life anyway. So it is a time about self-discovery. And, you know, even if you don't, even if you don't change your spots, but you know you know yourself, and you know who you are, live your true self and live your best self as best as we can, really. So thank you for that, Jem. gonna hand it over to Tahira. Over to you.
Thank you. So going back to what Mohammed Varia said at the start, we're all Batley Poets. And this is a poem that I performed, I think, on International Women's Day, just before the lockdown. And it's about what is a poem. What is a poem? Is it a rhyme, words on a page, something that moves you? A collection of words united by a topic, a message to convey, or get others thinking. Something that's worth sharing, a pleasure to read. No rhyme or reason. Poetry is just words. Thank you.
Thank you, Tahira, for summing up in her words what a poem is. And a poem. Before I started writing with Batley Poets, or reading out what I've written with the Batley Poets, the last time I wrote poetry was when I was at school, and that was a few decades ago now. So that's the last time I wrote poetry, and it's something that I've not done until a couple of years ago, when I started putting pen to paper and putting down my thoughts and writing down what I was feeling, what I was thinking. And that's what poetry is. It is literally just you writing what you're feeling. There are poems that are political, that are about an agenda, and that's fine as well, because that is what they want to express. That is what the poet wants to, that's the message that the poet wants you to hear or wants you to take away. But other than that, poems can be about something, nothing, anything, everything. It is your choice at the end of the day. And there are certain rules. There are no rules. You write what you feel, and if it looks right to you, if it feels right to you, it's good enough for you, and it probably is good enough for the rest of us as well. So thank you, Tahira, for that. Coming back to myself now, so I'm going to read this one, which I've titled Moon. This was inspired by the supermoon we had last week, where I just saw a picture of it. Well, I saw it out through my window, then I took a picture of it. But it was kind of overshadowed a little bit with a massive big grey cloud. So this is called Moon. This may seem your darkest night. Be it so, let it bring forth its fright. Worries, anxieties, insomnia at their height. But hang in there, hold on tight, even if no end is in sight. To this battle you so bravely fight. Through this you will find your light. Tear the darkness with your might, and once again be free to shine bright. So thank you. So that was Moon by myself. Thank you. Now I'm going to hand it back to. So I can see a few people clapping. It's really weird because I clap, so that kind of makes me that's a cue for myself to introduce the next person. But I won't clap for myself this time round. I'm going to hand it over to Steve. Steve was joining us all the way from Shropshire.
That's right.
Thank you. Over to you, Steve.
Yeah, just check technically. See me all right? Hear me okay? Excellent. So I now live in Shropshire. I was brought up in Yorkshire. Well, I went to school in Normanton, between Castleford and Featherstone and Wakefield, around that area. And lots of the streets around there are called Frobisher Avenue or Frobisher Road, and one of the tutor groups called Frobisher, and it's after a 16th century bloke who was born there, and even though it was like 40 miles from the sea, 16th century navigator, sailor, and it sometimes comes up with this word, a privateer, and that essentially means it will work for anybody who paid him. So he went all over, things were named after him, and a generally all-round bad guy or good guy, depending on who was paying him. This is called In the Wake of Frobisher. As tides turn, we'll try to fathom how they made those ocean odysseys with such mad bravery and primitive equipment. What tides pushed them out, what waves brought them back on shore. And will we add another verse too? Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492 with people and pilgrims guided by faith or fear or stars, buoyed up with dodgy life jackets bought in seedy seaside bars? And will Johnny Depp portray you as modern buccaneers? Will schoolhouses be named after these modern pioneers? Will your names be writ large on maps and rivers and houses and seas when we celebrate the travels of last year's refugees? That.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for that. So that was wonderful. Next, I'm gonna hand it over back to Mohammed Barber. Over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you very much. I have one I've read before in a different Batley Poets event, and I thought I'd bring out for today. Something that you, Mr. V, would be familiar with. It's called the Sparkly Pink Brooch. So I thought I'd do that one again. So yeah, it's called Sparkly Pink Brooch. That's a very sparkly brooch for a man, and pink, a sparkly pink brooch on your jacket, a male jacket, on a male bodice. Many male eyes turn to see this sparkly pink brooch on another man. Brushed away with a laugh and a joke, it's a very pretty pink brooch I offer in reproach, sending a compliment to deflect constipated gazes from repressed males who impress their worldview as a one-way street. Affronted by the pink they may be, they've had their time, and their time is up. This sparkly pink brooch is staying put. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you for that. That's absolutely brilliant. And can I just say a little background about that, Mohammed, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I didn't say anything because I didn't know whether you wanted to say anything or not, so I hesitated with an introduction.
I feel very honoured by that poem because it's inspired, I hope, by a little pink brooch I had at my brother's wedding a couple of months ago, back end of last year. So obviously Mohammed was there as well, and it was a pretty brooch, and Mohammed was just inspired by to write a poem about that. So thank you. I feel really honoured every time you read that, and every time I read it as well. I feel really honoured, and it just puts a massive smile on my face. So thank you so much for that. Next, we're going to hand it over back to our tech guy, Bilal. Bilal Salou, over to you.
Okay, so this poem was something I'm pretty sure people heard when I read it at the Batley Iftar last year. And so I'm just bringing it out again because, I don't know, I read it, I think, more or less the same time last year, and it's about cake. I'm being haunted by cake. In the morning when I wake, I can taste it on the tip of my tongue. I'm woken to the smell of coffee and toffee cakes, of lemon drizzle, chocolate puddings, red velvet, ice cream, Battenberg. But it's all in my imagination. After 6 hours of fasting, the day has barely begun and it's frosting that I'm craving. I've had nightmares of being ruled by Queen Victoria sponges and daydreamed in fear of Black Forest gateau lunches. When I leave the house, it's all that I see. There's no safe place to run, no cakeless place to flee. They sit on the windowsills of the shop window and watch my every move, and follow me with their aroma, the scents of the sweetest and tastiest of foods, deliciously attempting to seduce my starving mood. A delectably placed slice has my eyes glued. They stare at me with their sprinkles, freshly lit candles begging, pleading, demanding, eat me, eat me. My empty stomach rumbles on, tempting me for a bite. Were I not fasting, eating all 23 cakes would be a delight. Just then comes along a friend with a baker's touch. After hours in the kitchen, they've made a cupcake lunch. They want me to try just one little piece. I'm fasting, I say. When will this torture cease? And there's no sanctuary when I head to the mosque running. The imam is dressed in the colours of a sticky toffee pudding. I must be hallucinating, because when I get back home, there's a cake in the garden in the shape of a gnome. I've thought about cake through morning and afternoon, so much so that my watering mouth has started a monsoon. As the time comes for my fast to be broken, out comes an enormous cake that's spent all day hidden away. But I've already had 3 samosas, and I must admit, I'm much too full to eat even one little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Bilal, for that delicious poem. So this one, the one that Bilal writes about cakes, I've heard it a few times now. I've heard it at the Big Iftar, and Bilal always performs it in Ramadan, which is slightly unfair. But it is one I absolutely love it because I love cake, and I love your poems as well. So it's combining two of my passions. But it's such a nice poem. I just love it. I just love that poem by Bilal. So thank you for that. Next, I'm going to hand it over to Lindsay again. So over to you, Lindsay.
Thank you. So the next poem I'm going to read, I wrote a few years ago as part of a Batley group. We were twinned with a project in Tunisia, and the theme of the writing was about textile towns. One of the outputs of that group was a small book was printed with our joint poems from Batley and Tunisia, and that it was called Textile Towns. Some people who ever go to Dewsbury railway station and sit in the waiting room on platform 2, you'll have seen that some of those poems are up on the wall in the waiting room. So this one is called Baba Shorn Sheep, and it's an example of a pantoum, which is one of my favourite forms of writing a poem. Bags, baskets and bales bursting with fluffy wool, packaged clouds yellowing white, dripping lard-like over the edges of wicker. Bursting with fluffy wool, laying in clumps, stacks and piles, dripping lard-like over the edges of wicker, bloodied spots from a nicked sheep. Laying in clumps, stacks and piles, waiting to be soaked, washed and rinsed, bloodied spots from a nicked sheep who gambol coatless in the fields. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. That was brilliant. Really interesting about what you said about the poem, about the twinning with Tunisia as well. I really hope to sort of read more from that work, from what you produced there. So that sounds really interesting. And Batley, for those that do not know, Batley is known as a former textile town. It's one of our claim to fame as being a textile town. So that was wonderful, Lindsay, reminding us of the rich history of Batley has as well. So that brings us perfectly. So we've had a second go of all our poets. So that brings us perfectly to a little break. However, just before we break, I'm going to hand it back over to Mohammed Salud to just give you a little bit more, some more information about the Batley Poets. So over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you, Mohammed. This is really fun, isn't it? Mohammed to Mohammed, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Just to give you a little bit of a background, we thought it'd be nice to actually explain how we reached this point in life. In 2012, a very good friend of mine called Mr. Mark Griffin, also known aka Mr. Batley Smile, decided to host a poetry session at the Batley Library during the Batley Festival. And I actually wasn't there. I actually did hear about it, but I didn't make it to the session itself. In 2013, did the session again at the Batley Festival, and I was there, and that's the first time that I read, and I was age 42. It was the very first time that I'd ever read publicly. I'd been writing since I was about 13. So it was a long wait, but it was a delightful wait, and I just absolutely loved every moment of it. And it was just something that was very special in the reference room at the Batley Library that afternoon, and has been ever since. And then in 2014, Bilal, he read, also happens to be my son, he read, and whilst he debuted, and whilst we were putting the chairs away, Mark and myself, we just started talking and saying we need to turn this into something more than an annual event. And through that, we actually came up with the name Batley Poets. Whilst putting chairs away, because that's where the best ideas come to life. Where Batley Poets sits under Batley Smile, by the way. Batley Smile is a community interest company, and Batley Poets is one of the projects of. And then as we moved on, we kept having the occasional poetry session. And in 2017, in the April of 2017, I think it was 2017. Sorry, we performed at the 26th. In the April of 2017, Bilal decided that he wanted to put a website together. Me and Mark, being of a slightly more senior age, wondered what difference that would make. And we've realized that with over 50-something poets and over 150 odd poems, original pieces of work that are on the website, it made quite a big difference. So big shout out to Bilal. He built and uploaded the website, and it was absolutely it's been absolutely brilliant, and it's really helped poets take their poetry to a much wider audience. And I always say that I've always wanted Batley Poets to be a platform for bedroom poets to share their poetry. Because I was a bedroom poet. This scribbles on scrap pieces of paper, napkins. I used to write on the bus. I used to write in the canteen. You name it. When I used to smoke, I used to actually write on cigarette packs. But the opportunity for people to share poetry wasn't there. So I wanted Batley Poets to be that. So through the medium of the sessions, through the medium of the website, and today in virtual format, we've managed to be able to give people an opportunity to share their poems. In 2017, we also had the Batley Iftar. Jem came up to me after that, and that's where he starts with the Batley Poets as well, and it's been absolutely brilliant. We've performed at all the Batley Iftars since as well, that have taken place with the Mooring Common, and including the one we did this year, which is a very special one, which hopefully we'll get to later. And we've also been down to Parliament. We were inside. We were invited by our MP, Tracy Brabin. Big shout out to Tracy, who invited us to do Poets in Parliament, which was an absolutely wonderful day. Travelled down with 8 poets in. I think it was 8 poets in a van. And we travelled back and did the poetry there. We shook London, of course, but the best thing is we also had a lovely time going down and coming back, and it just shows how diverse we are. But when we get together, we do have a bit of a laugh. And in a couple of years ago, we actually released our first book called The Bards of Batley, which was part of the Batley 150 celebrations, 150 years since Batley became a borough. We also work with 4 schools, 480 pupils. I know Upper Batley High School are watching, so hello Upper Batley High School. You were one of the schools, my old school as well, one of the schools we worked with, and Batley Grammar, Batley Girls High, and Cambridge Street School. We created these banners, and we've been taking those banners around various different places. So we've done the Batley Tesco, we've done the rugby field, the Batley rugby ground, we've done the library, the museum, and lots of other places as well. Over 42,000 people have actually seen those banners now. Which is a remarkable thing for something that we did on Peanuts, I think. Most of the things that we do is all done through volunteering. A lot of time does go in. So I want to give a big shout out to Muhammad Bariava and Bilal, who's been spending a lot of time in putting this together, and also were helpful. Were part of the Together poem that we did for the Mooring Common big iftar, virtual iftar earlier this month. So a big shout out and a big thank you to all the poets who have performed with us thus far today and before. One day I'm going to have everybody in the same room, and the room's not going to be big enough because we've genuinely had so many people on so many different sessions join us, and we've made so many new friends over it as well. So a big shout out. It's a little kid's toy for me, is Batley Poets, if I'm honest with you. Love it to bits. Thank you very much for making it special today again.
A round of applause for that, for everything that the Batley Poets have achieved. Obviously what Mohammed just said, and where it started, how it's grown, how the poets have grown as well. And thank you to Mohammed, and the Batley Poets, who gives each of us a platform to share our work, share our poems. A highlight of it was what he mentioned in terms of last year when we went down to Parliament. Thank you to Tracy. If you tuned in, Tracy, thank you for inviting us to Parliament last year, and everywhere else. Gwen, who
Bench Poets. You forgot Bench Poets.
The Bench Poets, yes. The Bench Poets was something that sort of grew over last year, which was poetry outside on bench, where you might see people sort of sat on benches. People use benches to sort of just take a moment out. If they're shopping, if they're going somewhere, if they're walking home, a lot of people just take a bench as a minute sort of rest. So we sort of did Bench Poets, which was turning benches into places of sharing poetry. And we did that. We replicated that in Huddersfield as well, in Marsden. So that's something that the Batley Poets have done as well. The book, I will show you the book as well, The Bards of Batley, and where you can get a copy of that. However, like I said, I'm just going to give everyone a quick 5-10 minute break. I know a lot of you have been joining us, and you've been sat patiently, which we thank you for, very attentively listening to us. So I'm just going to, this is the point where if we were at the library, we would be sharing cake right now. But unfortunately, unless you've got a cake or that's already, my baker still hasn't turned up yet. So I don't know what's keeping her a bit, keeping her. But if you've got a cake, but I'm going to give you all 5-10 minutes to sort of stretch your legs for a little bit, get yourself a cup of tea, get yourself a coffee, get yourself a glass of water, take a little comfort break if you need to. And I shall see you again for Virtually Poetry by the Batley Poets in 10 minutes time. So please do join us, do not leave us, and hopefully join you on the other side of this break.
A beautiful soul has left us a legacy of care, wise words to teach acceptance, spread compassion everywhere.
Bringing together our differences can sometimes surprise us all. That which we thought divided us may well be a uniting call.
Embracing that spirit of unity, Batley folk of all faiths and none will strengthen our community and work and play as one.
Like our love of food and poetry, the Wilton Park we call Batley Park. Our community unites in Batley. Diverse volunteers make their mark.
Togetherness is more than just a word. We've more in common. We should not divide. Stigmatising others is absurd. Behind the mask, we're all the same inside.
Alone the single straw shall surely split. Bound together is where it finds its might. Wrap yourself in the weighted patchwork quilt, for all our skins feel the cold of the night.
With the chatter of nature's early risers, the earth revolves a new spring morn, excited, inspired, promising more surprises. Rebirth, reborn, my day to join.
And now we stand in togetherness. Holding hands we pray for all. We fought the divided foolishness. United we shall not fall.
A spirit of community we won't forsake. Ties of friendships we won't sever. These bonds will not break. Not now, not ever.
We are not defined by our singular threads, but the woven fabric that makes the quilt. In its multitude of shades and rich deep depths, our stories are one, our purpose fulfilled. Together.
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 Tomorrow
will
be better.
When I write poetry, it has to be from my heart.
Language of the poetry. is same, it is universal. In which language you write, poetry means poetry, expressions of what you are thinking. And it's a beauty of mankind. I think without poetry, I don't know how the people can be.
Yet standing and waiting in darkening decline, your legacy neglected by the town that you fed. You still hold the spirit of loss and dark grief of children who laboured and ailed.
Jamse महफिल हजी पन्ना में ना हो इशू क्या हमारो नाम वलाई तो कहवाई ना ओथ भरती जैम छे आपरा सबन तो पन हवे जो लागनी चलकाई तो कहवाई ना.
A future to look to, a future we trust, where backing our town will remain a must. So thrive, Batley, thrive. Spread the word far and wide. That Batley's diversity fills us with pride.
We can't stop thinking about it all, to dissect or not by giving someone a call, or to forget about it and move on instead. Read a book, sleep, everything to get out of your head.
Defeated now, we are awaiting John the plumber. Shan't be long, he shouts into his mobile. What's gone wrong? It's washing all the time, it just won't spin, I say. I'm on my way, he says. I've just a few small jobs to do, not far from where you live. What he says next makes me say something blue. It's all right, love. I'll bring a massive sieve.
Let you into a little secret. I do like to write poetry myself.
पतन ना मार्ग में पण लोग समझे उन्नति जेवो. पतन ना मार्ग में पण लोग समझे उन्नति जेवो. न जान्यु जे हतु तेने हवे तो जानवानु छे. Many a path of destruction is considered as a progress by the people these days. Strange that people do not consider the way they follow are in ruin.
Henceforward shall our time be plainly read. Down the nave I catch the twofold beat of those full-weighted moments overhead. And hark, the hour goes clanging down the street. To the open plain, how sweet at eventide.
I am yesterday, but you are today. Yesterday was dark. Yesterday was nameless. Yesterday was soundless. Put yesterday aside.
Oh, how your face became a blur, the more and more distant you were. Oh, how I tried so hard to remember your face.
It says, came to the iftar last year, met a few people, met a few new friends, one of whom was his dad, Mohammed. And after the performance last year, I said to Mohammed, can I join the Batley Poets? And he said, do you like poetry? I said, yeah. He said, you're in then. So here I am. And shortly afterwards I wrote this. It's called Hope. I hope you like it. Hope springs eternal, so says the old cliche, and it's even more important in these days of Trump and May. It's becoming all too easy to heed the voices of division, and those who stand for unity just receive derision. We don't have to love our neighbour, why not just say hello? Those strangers living next door are just friends we don't yet know. From Martin Luther King to our very own Joe Cox, let's stand up for civil rights, let's turn back the clocks. Reject the Twitter chatter of PC libtards and snowflakes. When they go low, go high. See what difference that makes. It's not a viable strategy to fight fire with fire, or bigotry with hatred. We should all be aiming higher. The past year has been challenging and politics got vicious. A return to civil dialogue could prove to be auspicious. Try exchanging friendly banter as you go about your business. One man's Eid Mubarak is another's Happy Christmas. Thank you.
I'm not going to challenge a reply from you. Sometimes when you're passing newspapers, you do feel a bit frustrated and angry. So this is one of those when I wrote at that time. It's called I Want Hope. I don't want hate scrawled across the cover of tabloid news, stacked on supermarkets on newsstand pews, pictures of faces in scornful hate, staring at shoppers who queue in wait. I don't want to know names of towns where they came from, schools and places where they had gone, interviews of neighbours they barely knew, telling the world of a normalised view. I don't want to hear the warped ideologies and thoughts they hold, Their reasons for murder radically told. The lone gunman, the planned attack, delivered in extracts of presumptuous fact. I don't want a review of places they stay, a biography in headlines day by day. Experts of controversy that sound bites love never speak for the many who are silenced enough. I don't want hate, I want hope. I want to see tabloid front pages with a smiling face of those who give and receive with such grace. Gifts of friendship, strength of unity, the better side of a common society. I want to know of towns and places where diversity grows. Hear the stories where kindness flows, where different isn't scary, but celebrated instead. I want to read interviews of the people we fed. I want to hear the thoughts and ideas of what communities say, with pictures of a town on a special day. People together, laughing, having fun, for no other reason except that's what's done. I want to know more about people who give to help another, who look to others as sisters and brothers. Show me the spread of kind acts of care. This is the image for social share. I don't want hate, I want hope. Across newsstands and TVs, via politicians and commentators. I don't want hate, I want hope. Thank you.
The poem is called First Batley Memories. It happened during the Great Get Together weekend. The weather was lovely, and after a jam-packed day of events, I walked from home to Memorial Gardens. Hundreds of people attended the Batley last year, with a vibrant atmosphere of learning and understanding, speeches and performances to a diverse audience. It could have gone better, thanks to the organisers. I really loved watching the school children perform. If they could do it, then so could I. A supportive audience of familiar and new faces, my poem back community, now on the Batley Poets website. I enjoyed attending the first Batley last year, and this second one will evoke memories too. Connections formed and conversations had. There's less people that are Batley I'm sure you'll agree. The next poet is Sariha.
It's been 100 years and we're celebrating the suffragette movement, the 100th anniversary, and I wrote this poem in celebration of female, and particularly the female from an Islamic point of view. It's called The Revered Female. Female Muslims suppressed, they say, thoughts and voices kept at bay. Born to breed, must take heed, brains in chains, master reigns. Wives and mothers, fit for purpose, conceal their strength, limit their wealth. Faith constrains, potential wanes, feminism jailed, Islam failed. Yet Islam stands for equality, promoting personality, establishing legality, protection of morality, cover up to liberate, alleviate, dissipate, society's norms, renunciate. Inheritance rights, clear and concise. What's mine is mine, but he must provide. Mothers honoured, not simply endured. Paradise lies in the glint of her eyes. Look at your spouse with adoration. God's mercy will come, glorification. Essential rights must be fulfilled, or protestation is rightfully willed. Once the gaze is inverted from all things haram, we tread the true path to spiritual Islam, where women are held in high esteem, respected, protected.
Are we all ready?
Streaming is on.
Thank you for joining us back for Virtually Poetry with the Batley Poets. I hope you've enjoyed the last hour of poetry that we've brought to you. We're going to kickstart it off because we are in the second hour. We're going to kickstart it off again. We've got a bit of a change in the running order this time, so I'm going to hand it over straight to Jem. Over to you, Jem.
Thank you, Mohammed. We were talking in the first half about our MP, Tracy Brabin, who's been a staunch supporter of the Batley Poets right from the start. And I just thought I'd do one that I wrote for her recently when in the House of Commons, you might remember, she asked a very important question about the actions of the government, but next day the headlines were all about the black dress she was wearing, which had slipped off her shoulder, which kind of deflected from the important issue of the question she'd asked. So I wrote this for her, and she very gratefully received it. I believe she's now got a framed copy in a constituency office, And as an aside, the dress in question, I believe, raised about £44,000 for at auction for the Girl Guides and Brownies organisation to help the development of young women. So that had a happy ending. So I wrote this in honours sort of thing as a bit of a tongue-in-cheek tribute to Tracy's actions. It's called Just a Little Black Number. Let's distract from all those stories of manipulating the press and replace them with the headline, "Woman Wears a Dress." Don't dare display a shoulder, it looks common and cheap. But it's okay to use the front bench to catch up on your sleep. It's the Palace of Westminster, don't refer to it as Parley. Wear heels, not DMs, they're just a little too gnarly. You did theatre studies, not PPE. Just stay in your lane, dear, how hard can that be? Let's beat the outraged sword into a stout ploughshare, then turn that into currency for those who really care. Monetize the Twitter storm, turn it into several grand. Give more power to the elbow of those that really lend a hand. Demonstrate the socialist principles in which we truly believe, and let the keyboard warriors in their mum's back bedrooms seethe. When the right go low, we go off the shoulder. Perhaps next time a crop top or a bikini would be bolder. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. That's such a wonderful. I saw that. I saw that when you posted it on Twitter, but it was such a small picture, and I was waiting. Because the next time we got together was, I think, on the International Women's Day. However, the Batley Poets Women's Division performed on that day. So I'm like, the next time, I'm just waiting to hear that from Jen. And obviously, you've graced us with it today. So thank you for that. That's absolutely brilliant. And obviously, more to the point of what's not what you wear, but what you say and what your actions mean. So, you know, through the humour, there is a deep message in it, which I'm sure we all understand. I hope that we understand it. It's not what a woman chooses to wear, but it's what's being said and what she stands for. I'm not just a woman, but anyone, that's more important. Pretty much very similar to Mr. Barber's pink brooch. Men can wear pink and women can wear off the shoulder.
Yeah.
So that's what we've got. So thank you for that, Jem.
I shall leave you now, Mohammed, and I'll see you all
problem.
soon.
Thank you, Jem.
Take care. Bye for now. Bye all. Thank you.
And we hope to see you soon.
Hope so. Bye-bye now.
Bye. I'm going to hand it over. So those of us that have joined us or have been with us since the start or have joined us post the interval, thank you for joining us. It is virtually poetry with the Batley Poets, where we're bringing our poetry from the comfort of our homes into the comfort of your homes. So you don't have to go out, you don't have to go anywhere. You can hear us, you can share, we can share our poems with you virtually. It's the first time that we're doing it. So if you're on Twitter or on Instagram, do tag us, do let us know how we're doing, what you're enjoying, how we can improve. What feedback is always welcome. Check out the Batley Poets website as well. And if you've got a poem to share, do share it and send it in to the Batley Poets as well. Everyone's welcome, and as we say, everyone's a Batley Poet. I'm going to hand it back to Mohammed Salu. So over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you. I think we've started with some nice happier ones, so I'm going to try and keep that up. This one is called The Tea Lover's Plot. A rush of wind, a storming brew, the marching man comes into view, a brow that strained, his voice in speed, rapidly citing, there's no more tea. There's no more tea? Is it really so? Has the cup run dry, the pot lost its flow? Perforated bags, tell me, is it true? Have we used the last of our Thai food? Quick, summon the guards, quick, summon the guards. Stop your mopping, lift up the pace and the chariots of shopping, like warriors march in haste to store, grab fast the satchels of beverages galore. Ah, the steam may rise again, that flavoured water with sweet sugar cane, captured leaves crushed to a pile, to taste the want of a tea-thirsty smile. But wait, oh no, it seems it's fake, the cupboard's got tea bags to flood a lake. Alas, it seems, and tell if not, the wrongful panic was the tea lover's plot. Well, what's done is done. Relax and share. Fill up the cup, grin and bear. Let's all be merry. Let bygones be. Ah, the wonder of a nice cup of tea. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed, for that wonderful poem about the tea lover's plot. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Next, I'm going to hand it over to Bilal Mayed. Over to you, Bilal.
Right. Can you hear me?
Yes, over to you.
Yeah. Right, thank you. Right, so this is the last one, and it's called Run. As the message comes down the line, we adapt and change. We ensure to wash our hands, we ensure to keep 2 meters apart. We ensure to keep in line. It was at first stay at home, it is now stay alert. It's a big change. As a sign of fear, make sure to stay alert. If you do see the virus, make sure you run. Thank you.
Lovely, lovely. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for that, Bilal. So Jem's gone out. Jem's no longer with us at this moment, but he obviously went first. Next, I'm going to hand it over to Tahira. So over to you, Tahira.
Thank you. So if you've been following the Share Poem Sunday hashtag on Twitter, you'll have probably seen this poem, and it's about cake, and it's called My Victoria Sponge. A dusting of ice and sugar glistens, at certs winking at me. I'm your favourite cake, Victoria Sponge, he appears to say to me. Cake lays so light and fluffy, jam and buttercream sandwiched in between, the centrepiece at cake sales, and delightfully consumed with a hot drink. Fixture at coffee mornings, and I never tire, Victoria Sponge. Sometimes I'm eaten on train journeys, ventures, or at home if it lasts. Occasionally eaten as a Friday treat, as a reward as consolation. After an often busy, tiring week, just me, cake, and hot chocolate. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Another delicious poem about cake. So cake does seem to be on people's minds right now. So thank you for that. I always love a poem about cake, or any food for that matter. Or to be honest, I love poems generally. So yeah, thank you for that, Tahira. Next one, carrying on with the theme of food. I'm gonna go next, and I'm gonna read this one, which might resonate with a few of you, or a lot of you. This one's called gram flour, and something that a lot of those of you that are fasting, those of you that are observing Ramadan, this is something that you will see a lot or you would have seen a lot in the last few weeks, and you will see in the coming week as well. So this one's called gram flour. A staple, I hear, in a household of Asian or South Asian descent. However, its use I've only known to be one. Pakoras for those that may be wondering. Some call it bhajis, onion bhajis, or even bhajia if you're Gujarati. Add an S and you can pluralize it to bhajias. Don't ever remember buying it, but it's always there, in a tub, tucked in the corner, round or square, whatever was left over, or sometimes just in a bag, unlabeled, but we all know its distinct colour, not white, not yellow. Waiting dutifully, always on hand, when the need arises, it's there on demand, ample of it, whether by spoon, cup, or the gram. This trusted friend never seems to run out. Unlike your eggs, milk, or even your bread, no need to plan ahead. Open the cupboard and it's there, ready to do its fair share, to coat anything in its batter, perfect for tea and a natter. So that was gram flour. So that's living in my household. There's always gram flour. There's amples of it. There's bags of it, and I never remember buying it. I don't remember who buys it, but it's always there. It's something that you always see, and I'm sure many of you can relate to that as well. So it just inspired me, and that's poetry. Anything can inspire you. Something you see, something you hear, a sound, music, a song, your favorite your favorite jumper, anything, you know, your favorite wine, your favorite chocolate, anything. So, you know, that's the beauty of Batley Poets as well, where we always say anything is welcome. So that was Grand Flower by me. I'm gonna hand it over to Steve now. So Steve, over to you.
Yeah, just check you can hear me okay?
Yep, everything's
good. Yeah, the first two poems were set in Yorkshire. This one is actually in Shropshire. Shropshire was the birthplace of Charles Darwin, the scientist. Yeah, he was actually born in Shrewsbury. He went to the school in the building that's now the library. There's a huge statue of him outside the library. And it's just around the corner from this venue called the Coffee House, which is both for music and poetry. And the first time I did this was in there. It's called Darwin and the Coffee House. And to try to recreate the atmosphere, if any of you out there would like to make the sound of a coffee percolator, I'll start the poem. If that coffee machine was a time machine and we could percolate to the past, we might see young Darwin on his way to school, pockets wriggling with worms and a magnifying glass. And I wonder if he ever went in there. Be a great excuse for his lates. Sorry, sir, I got caught up in an experiment, the effect of caffeine on invertebrates. And after school, an amazing gap year that soon evolved into 5 around the world on the Beagle. But this was no Lonely Planet guide. And crazier, a colour-changing octopus, chameleon of the Cape Verde Seas, then rides on giant tortoises like some hippie, trippy trapeze. And he disembarks in Falmouth in 1836, where he meets a Cornish Jobsworth with a Cornish customs checklist and a dodgy accent. Arr, former order the queue, please, all you passengers and crew from the Beagle. I asked to check you for contraband and anything else that's illegal. Rather a lot of cases, Mr. Darwin. I'm not just down from the trees, but all those stuff rears ain't allowed in here. Own use seems a bit excessive to me. And I'm sorry, Mr. Darwin, but I'm just not budging an inch. And just because you're from the Galapagos, you can't bring in 14 species of fish. And his ideas still keep evolving, watching the farmers reinforce the breed, and pigeon fanciers mating their fastest ones. So for once, that's sex, not for length, but for speed. And his statue is still around the corner, looking down on the ascent of man. Or is he pondering the origin of the species? Or is it Jenny, London Zoo's orangutan? And it must have been tricky at Christmas, amidst his family and all of those chocks, because how does Darwin make the decision from the natural selection box? But Darwin still gets to the Coffee House and Batley Library. Well, he used to, but not for a cappuccino or mocha or float, because he used to sneaking in your wallet when he was the face on the £10 note. But unfortunately, Jane Austen has ruined my bloody poem. Thank you.
Absolutely wonderful that was, Steve. Thank you for that. And I love your performance aspect of it as well. And that's wonderful. We're always, whenever we get together, we'll always see 1 or 2 poets who bring the theatre with them, and they're ever so theatrical in their performances, which just shakes the room up and gets us all that bit more lively. So really appreciated, Steve, for keeping that kind of upbeat atmosphere going with us. Thank you. Next, I'm going to hand it back to Mr. Mohammed Barber. So over to you, Mohammed. Mohammed, if you can hear me, I think your mic is on mute. So if you just unmute it.
There we go. Yep, thank you very much. I'm going to keep the food theme going and recite a poem called Greg's. This is a work in progress. It's not quite finished yet, but this is sort of what I've got so far. People can say what they wish, they can see what they want, our public display of affection when my lips meet your soft bites into your golden skin of a cheese and onion pasty. No fancy patisserie is there among your racks. I see through you to the Babson display, a sight that never does dismay. I have been with many others in different towns, stations, and cities, with the promise of something better, but to you I forever return. You could say this relationship is open between 6 a.m. and 5 p.m. in Batley. Others put on quite a show, a perfect couture of rounded curves. I desire not a skinny macchiato, matcha tea latte, or affogato. I'm not scared of a few rolls, meat or vegan. So long as this body takes breath, this tongue can taste, I will live with no regrets. Thanks to my local Greggs.
Lovely, lovely.
It's not quite there yet. It's like I said, it's a work in progress, but it's it's getting there.
And you just had to remind us that Greggs is closed.
Yeah.
And
Greggs
now with
is
that,
closed.
McDonald's is closed, KFC is closed, Nando's. That's the one thing I've been craving.
I think Mackie D's is open again. I think they're not. You can't go in to get anything, but they do deliver now,
Oh, okay. Well,
like through Uber Eats or something like that. So you might be able to get your McMuffin mix fix. Sorry.
I'll definitely have to look out for that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Mohammed's just reminded us of everything that's close, starting with Greggs. And it's these little things that we actually take for granted. Just the Greggs on your way to work, or if you're shopping, everyone buys a butty or a cheese and onion pasty or a roll or something. And it's just those simple things that we are missing now. Well, I am. I'm certainly missing sort of Nando's. Nando's is the cravings that I've got. So, do you know what? If anyone can do me a peri peri chicken or chicken livers with spicy rice, I will pay you. So yeah, that's what I'm missing. I mean, I'm sure we're all missing something as well, but obviously, hopefully soon we can go back to our food places and get ourselves whatever we want. Hopefully soon, fingers crossed. So after that wonderful rendition of Greggs by Mr. Barber, I'm going to hand it over to Bilal Salu. So over to you.
Okay. This poem was inspired by somebody else. It's not about food, thankfully. It was inspired by somebody who said the written word is dead. And it's somewhat about a library. It doesn't have a title because I'm pretty bad at those. The last monoliths, standing resolute, crumbling into disrepair, disuse, statue of a past, historical veins running deep, once full of joy, happiness, now weeps. The written word is dead, or so I've been told. The libraries rotting away, books of dust getting old, sanctuaries guarding ink-streaked paper fading into websites about the past, old buildings of mystery repaired, renovated, reinvigorated, to last a century with a new purpose in mind, offices and computer rooms, electrical devices littering book-worn walls, peace replaced by chattering water cooler talk. A walk past the exterior, fashioned with modern-day signs, and a cast of aplenty, reduced to just 29. Thank you.
Thank you, Bilal, for that wonderful poem. And Bilal always says titles are hard, and he doesn't do titles, so you've just got to remember what he said. And always, however, even without titles, his poems are remarkable. So it's wonderful. Thank you, Bilal. Over to Lindsay now. So over to you, Lindsay.
Thank you. So my last poem is something that I started writing very recently. I went along to a little writing session in Cleckheaton, and the theme was the Bronte sisters and their writing. And this was in response to something about what does feeling free mean to you. And so I started this little poem, which is not finished, but I hope you like it nonetheless. I wish I were a girl again, half savage and hardy and free. I'm sure I should be myself with the heather, the hills and the trees. Half savage and hardy and free, I laugh and dance and sing with the heather, the hills and the trees, as free as a bird on the wing. I laugh and dance and I sing. This is who I'm meant to be. I'm as free as a bird on the wing, and no one nor nothing can stop me. And that's as far as I've got.
Thank you, Lindsay. That's beautiful, beautiful as to where you've got. Perfect as it is. However, if you want to continue and if there's more to it, we'd love to hear another version, the full version or second version. But it's absolutely beautiful. And I think Lindsay mentioned writing groups. So there's lots of little writing groups that happen around Batley, Dewsbury, Heckman White, Cleckheaton, usually sort of the library or the places as well. And there's such a little sort of respite and sort of much needed for people. And something that I mentioned in the first part as well, that writing, whatever it is, whether it's poetry or whether it's just sort of freehand writing, journaling, it's such a freeing action. It frees you. I think thoughts weigh you down sometimes, and putting them to pen and paper allows you to process them, allows you to see them, and sort of lightens yourself as well. So if there's a local writing group and once they're up and running again, do join in, and you'll be amazed with what can come out of yourself, what you can come up with, and what you can put to paper and what you can write, and you surprise you would sometimes you sometimes end up surprising yourself. So they're really, really important and really needed as well to keep people sort of going. So we've had 3 readings of everyone. So well done for getting through a full reading again, everyone. And I think we're doing quite good time-wise as well. However, I'm gonna, if you remember what Mohammed mentioned earlier, so I'm gonna plug the Bards of Batley, which is a collection of poems. So as I'm going to read from the blurb on the back, the story of Batley is not only its buildings or its industry. The story of Batley is and will always be its people. They are the ones who write the story of their town. So it's a poem of Batley by people from Batley, so from in and around Batley. So that's the Bards of Batley. It's available on Amazon, and it's also available at the library when the library opens up again as well. So do look out for it the next time you're at the library, or have a look out for it on Amazon as well. So that's the Bards of Batley.
Mr. Vareva.
Yep.
Just a correction. It's not on Amazon. It's on eBay.
It's on eBay. Sorry.
It's on eBay. Don't look for it on Amazon because you won't find it.
That's our tech guy. He's keeping a very keen eye over everything that we say. So correction, you can edit it afterwards. Yeah, so it's on eBay. I mean, if you type it in Amazon, it might be there. I don't know.
But it's not there. It won't show up. You'll be searching for hours and hours and hours, and we'll find it.
I'm saying there's knocked off copies of the Bards of Batley being sold on Amazon.
You never know what can happen. So it's definitely on eBay. So do have a look, and do feel free to purchase it as well. And if you can't find it on eBay, it is definitely at the Batley Library as well. So I don't know how everyone's feeling for a quick fire round 4. Yep. We're just going to go straight into it and start off with you again, Mohammed. Mohammed Sulus, over to you.
Thank you. My last one for the day is going to be, it's called Paper is a Good Listener. Paper is a good listener with an eloquence serene. The scrolling nib that writes the thoughts of what I mean. Paper does not judge or call my sense a fool, belittling what I say in replies too often cruel. Paper shares my feelings, my emotions in strokes of ink. Flowing in every letter, brood tears fall in a blink. Paper allows my thoughts to open like a bud of spring. On every couplet written is a voice that's conversing. Paper lets opinion spread like a fire wild. Unleashed in words of wisdom is a temper once seen mild. Paper does not say or speak in replies bleak. When my soul fell to pieces, weakness it did not seek. Paper does not silence the pulp between drawn lines. Captured words do speak of traps too hidden to find. Paper is a friend who hears my silent tears. Of all that rises and falls, paper is a listener that hears. Thank you. And can I just also add, What a wonderful afternoon you've all made this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for Mohammed for inspiring us to put this together. So thank you for that wonderful poem, and thank you to Mohammed anyway. Right, straight over to Bilal Mayet. Over to you, Bilal.
Right, I haven't got another one, so you can go back to whoever's next.
All right, okay. So that would be Tahira. Tahira, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, that's fine. So whenever you're ready, you go ahead.
Let me just pick one. Sorry, I thought we'd done. Well, nearly. Okay. So this one's called A Break in Poetry. So as Mohammed Faye was talking about, how I usually do things at the library, kind of have a break, and that kind of includes cake and tea. So this is kind of to do with that. A break in poetry. When all you want is tea, but there's still more poetry. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy listening. But it's been 45 minutes and I'm fidgeting. Maybe I should just head over to Refreshments now when there's no spillover of people wanting cake and tea as I listen avidly to poetry. And I try to do the same, but thoughts of cake I can't tame until I get so caught up in a spoken word, I am moved by a poem I just heard. I don't want it to end, it drives me round a bend. I've been thinking of tea and cake, but all I want is poetry when I stop for a break. Thank you.
Thank you, Tahira, for that lovely poem. Yes, as Tahira said, normally our sessions, which we do hold at the library, we have a first half, we have a little break where there's tea and cake and biscuits and drinks and whatnot, and then we have a second half as well. Unfortunately, we can't share tea and cake because we're not together this time. However, we do bring you the poetry. So continuing with the food theme that we seem to have got going this afternoon, and also because this is the closest one I had right now, I'm going to give you one. I'm going to read you one, which is One Name, Many Varieties. So this is One Name, Many Varieties. Diced onions, grated carrots, chopped potatoes, sliced aubergines, shredded lettuce, minced mushrooms, coated chilies, cheese or paneer, spooky with pumpkins, even gourds will do, courgettes, the lot, maybe some shallots, bread as well, vegan butternut, fancy fish, chicken's a treat, dipped in golden batter, just a humble pakora, all this and more, Bajis galore. Thank you for that. So straight over to Steve.
Right, yeah, thank you. Sound okay? Vision okay?
Yes, good to go.
Good, excellent. Although, fantastic food poems make me starving. Crikey. And I'm not fasting as well, so crikey. I'll do this one. People were asking, what you're missing. I think what I'm missing is journeys, rail journeys, and bus journeys have changed for me a lot recently because I got my bus pass. No, not a student bus pass, not a family bus pass. I think what will be my last bus pass. And I'll do this one. Yeah, so I applied online, but I thought they sent it to the wrong person because when I looked, it's got this photograph of this old bloke who looks just like me dad on it. And this is called, I guess this will be the last poem. It's called The Last Bus Home. Somewhere in that snatched breather between caring and being cared for, they give you a bus pass. Join a frugal gang of off-peak free trippers. Reclaim Batley's day-life safe city streets, freshly cleansed with early morning hoses and bristle disinfectant. I jump on the bus, but the driver doesn't look up to check my age. bastard. But redundant gunslinger conductor still swaggle the aisle, crisscrossed with cowhide straps, bandolier chains dispenser, balancing ticket machine, cocked and thumb trigger high. The ghost of Roger Rycroft still sits next to me at the seat at the vibrating front and explains by the noise and quiet the transmission system of the school bus engine. Doris struggles with her shopper's wheels but enjoys the smiles of recognition. Billy the Quiff skips on at Atcham, catwalks the bus, reclaims the back seat from his youth, leaves a trail of over-optimistic aftershave. Tartan trolleys, wagons safely circled in the luggage space, unfurl, uncurl to be refilled with baked beans and smoky chicken bits. The return timetables are checked twice. The last bus home leaves much, much earlier now. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you, Steve. Again, a wonderful poem and a wonderful performance of it as well. I think we need to, obviously we are seeing Steve live, but I think we need to have him physically live in one of our sessions. So stay in touch, Steve, all the way from Shropshire.
Yeah.
And we would love to see you with us or amongst us. It would be
I've still got mates who live at Blair. I still have got mates who live in Wakefield. So when I come up, I always try to do or see or join some poetry. That's very kind of you, and you're a lovely bunch of people too.
Thank you for joining us. Over to Mohammed Barber. Over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you very much. This one is called In the Hall, and with all the kind of music venues and theatres and other kind of cultural venues closed for the foreseeable future, this is sort of a small ode to that, I guess. Step into the hall, close the doors and take your seat. The first silent notes play, violins start bowing, percussion starts striking, horns start blowing, notes start blending, stress starts melting, worries start dropping. Enveloped in by sonority, the seconds tick by and the world stops. Pregnant with life, bloated with passion, sound injected by trauma, happiness and memories, an ear into the pains of another, in these moments, in the hall. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you. And as from what I know, Mr. Barber Mohammed, he loves his music, he loves his theatre, he loves his opera. So with everything closed, my heart goes out to you. My heart bleeds for you, Mohammed, because obviously everything's closed and no performances. However, we've got virtually poetry for you today. Right, I'm going to hand it over to Bilal now. Bilal Salou.
Thank you. This poem is about 3 a.m. It's probably about the time I wrote it. It's because I tend to stay up a lot and stay awake. I mean, especially during Ramadan, I don't tend to go to sleep after I sort of start fasting. I stay awake for a couple of hours, and so this poem is about that. I like it when it gets dark at 3 a.m, when the silence of blackness is seeping and everyone is softly snoring, when not a thing moves and not a person speaks. There are no calls, no texts, no notifications, and no tweets. When light does not stream noisily through the window, and there is no hum in the air of chaotic, busy, ordered, no bellow of daily life, of daily ongoings, of blaring TVs and crackling radios, of cars and trucks and vans ticking over of thoughts and frustrating prose. I like it when it gets dark, at 3 a.m, when silence seeps peaceful, and its embrace is calming. Thank you.
Thank you, Bilal. Thank you for that wonderful poem. 3 a.m. I think, especially during Ramadan, a lot of us can relate to that. Staying awake till stupid o'clock and then obviously waking up again at stupid o'clock as well. But generally, I think I can definitely relate to being up at 3 or even 4 a.m. And I think that's the best time when you can write stuff down anyway. So thank you for that, Bilal. And last but not least, we're going to go over to Lindsay. think you're just on mute, Lindsay. So if you unmute your mic.
Sorry, I was just saying I'm struggling to get access to the poem that I wanted to read.
Okay.
I think I'm there now. So thanks for bearing with me.
No problem.
So this is a free poem, part of one of the groups that I mentioned to you earlier. We went to look around Dewsbury railway station, and if nobody's ever been there, it's absolutely beautiful. I think it's Victorian. Just a stunning architecture of the place. And this is called Thank You for Not Smoking. Welcome to Transpennine Express. Please wait to be called forward. I feel I need to do as told, or maybe labelled wayward. Welcome to Fast Ticket Purchase. Buy tickets for immediate travel. I feel I need to do as told, as information does unravel. Welcome to Dewsbury Railway Station, Grade 2 listed building. I feel I need to tell you how the ticket office is filled in. With oblongs, squares, circles and spots, the screens and machines and computer lots silently scream their info load, scrolling their text so passengers are told where to go, where to get and how to behave. Beware the slippery, go to their fave seaside town. Queue here, take care, save money, keep left. The guidance rolls on and up and right and left, like red smoke up a digital chimney. Can I have a ticket to Manchester Piccadilly? Thank you for not smoking, the black screen writes to me. Gosh, I'm off to the ground shed now for a peaceful cup of tea. Sadly, since writing that, the ground shed has closed down.
Oh. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Lindsay, for that about Dewsbury Railway Station. There's some amazing buildings. I mean, Batley Railway Station, if you haven't been, is beautiful. The stonework there, the cobble path leading up to it. Dewsbury Railway Station is, again, it's beautiful, Victorian, like Lindsay said, and it's a Grade 2 listed building. So there's some amazing, amazing old Victorian buildings around Batley and Dewsbury. So if any of you do ever visit, take some pictures, tag us in those pictures as well. So that's brought us nicely on to 4 o'clock. So that's been a wonderful afternoon. I'm proud, I'm humbled, and I'm sort of delighted that I was able to host this and listen to, share with, and meet some wonderful poets who shared the wonderful poetry. So can we just have a final round of applause for everyone? Just to sort of give a shout out. So we had Mohammed Salou, Bilal Mayed, we had Jem joining us, who's unfortunately left us for the day. We had Tahira Mayed, we had myself, Mohammed Barnava, we had Steve, we had Mohammed Barber, Bilal Salou, and we had Lindsay. So a wonderful round of applause for everyone that joined in. Huge thank you to Bilal for the technical side of things, making sure we were live, making sure the stream that you've all seen, you've all taken part in, you've all witnessed, making sure that worked without any sort of glitches or anything like that. Thank you for Bilal for setting it up. Thank you to Mohammed Salou for sort of giving us the platform for this.
And so sneaking in there, can I just say a big thank you to Mohammed Variafa for doing a wonderful afternoon of hosting.
Thank you. So yeah, thank you, Mohammed, for that. Do follow us. The Bards of Batley, which I showed you all earlier, amazing. Available on eBay and at the Batley Library. It's a collection of poetry by various poets. Few of you whom you've heard today, but many more as well who are featured in the book. Poems about Batley by the people of Batley. So that's a wonderful read. If you do get the chance, do have a look at it. And also everyone that's joined us from wherever you are, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Do continue your poetry journey with us. We're on Twitter at Batley Poets. We're on Instagram at Batley Poets. We do share a poem Sunday every Sunday, and we are continuing with it for the foreseeable future. So do share your poems. If you haven't had the chance to read today, you can still share a poem, tag us into it, and we'll happily share it. We'll happily read it online. and do visit the Batley Poets website as well. We're going to end with a very special poem, so do still stay tuned for the next minute or two. It's called Together by the Batley Poets, a rendition of 10 poets that, again, did this virtually, sort of in isolation from each other. We all did this virtually, and we put this together, put this poem together for the Batley Iftar, part of the Joe Cox Foundation, part of More in Common, Batley and Spen, and we did it for the whole nation to watch and join us for some Batley spirit. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and we leave you with Together by the Batley Poets. Thank you.
Spread compassion everywhere.
Bringing together our differences can sometimes surprise us all. That which we thought divided us may well be a uniting call.
Embracing that spirit of unity, Batley folk of all faiths and none will strengthen our community and work and play as one.
Like our love of food and poetry, the Wilton Park we call Batley Park. Our community unites in Batley. Diverse volunteers make their mark.
Togetherness is more than just a word. We've more in common. We should not divide. Stigmatising others is absurd. Behind the mask, we're all the same inside.
Alone the single straw shall surely split. Bound together is where it finds its might. Wrap yourself in the weighted patchwork quilt, for all our skins feel the cold of the night.
With the chatter of nature's early risers, the earth revolves a new spring morn, excited, inspired, promising more surprises. Rebirth, reborn, my day to join.
And now we stand in togetherness. Holding hands we pray for all. We fought the divided foolishness. United we shall not fall.
A spirit of community we won't forsake. Ties of friendships we won't sever. These bonds will not break. Not now, not ever.
We are not defined by our singular threads, but the woven fabric that makes a quilt. In its multitude of shades and rich deep depths, our stories are one, our purpose fulfilled. Together.
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 Tomorrow will be better.